everyone, it's Jess and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is the Thrilling Thrillers book tag, and that is really difficult for me to say. I wanted to get involved with this video because I absolutely love thrillers. It's my favourite genre to read, and I actually haven't read a lot of thrillers in a while, so I do need to get back on that wagon and ride it to the maximum ASAP. But this is just an opportunity for me to talk about all things thriller, and I will leave the original video down below for you if you want to check it out, as well as all of the questions, so you can get involved if you want to. But without further ado, we're going to jump straight into the questions. So the first question is, what was the last thriller that you bought? And I've gone with All the Beautiful Lies by Peter Swanson. So this is technically the last thriller I bought, and I say technically because I got this in a subscription box along with 3 other books. So I did buy it, I just didn't know that I was getting it, but I was very pleased when I saw that I had this because I've been wanting to read some Peter Swanson stuff for quite some time. This wouldn't have been the one that I would have gone to first initially, but now that I have it, I don't have an excuse not to read any of Peter Swanson's stuff. I don't really know too much about this one, and I don't really know anyone who has read it, so if you have read it, please let me know what you thought of it. But it does sound really interesting, and this cover is just doing a lot of things for me right now, so hopefully I can get to this very soon. But I don't recall buying any other thrillers after this one. This came through the post towards the end of 2020, so that was when I'd kind of stopped buying loads of books. Yeah, so we'll go with this one. Question 2 is, show us a thriller that you most recently added to your TBR, and that was Girl A by Abigail Dean. So this is a pretty new release. It came out about a month or so ago now, and it's everywhere on the internet at the moment. People seem to be really enjoying it, and this one is about a girl who had a very traumatic past, and I think her parents were serial killers or something. Like, I know her mum is in prison and her dad, is he dead or something? I don't really know too much about it, but yeah, I added this to my Goodreads shelf a couple of weeks ago, and I am looking forward to getting to it, but I don't know if I am going to get to it this year because I'm not really prioritizing new releases right now. I can't really keep up with them, but I will get to this at some point, and I will let you know what I think of it when that happens. Question 3 is, what thriller did you have high hopes for but ultimately let you down? Now, there are a lot, and I'm probably going to talk about a book that you have heard me rant about before, and that is The Silent Patient. I'm really annoyed with this book because it is definitely not what they advertised it as, and it was just a massive letdown. I didn't like the way the unreliable narrator was written, and it was just very predictable and just really underwhelming. I hated how it ended. There are a lot of things in this book that I did like initially, but the payoff just kind of ruined everything that came before it. And yeah, it's not creepy, it's not scary. I thought I was going to get some kind of like weird psychological horror thriller thing, and in the end it just ended up being your kind of average run-of-the-mill thriller. Like, it was like a 3-star, maybe a 2.5-star read, I can't actually remember, but this one was just not what people said it was, and I was really fucking angry when I finished it. And another one is The Turn of the Key. Again, I've talked about this quite recently, how this one was such a letdown for me. And again, like The Silent Patient, it just wasn't what people said it was. I thought I was going to get a ghost story. There were elements of that in there that I really, really liked and appreciated. I know that it is inspired by The Turn of the Screw, which is a classic horror story, ghost story. But yeah, again, the payoff just wasn't worth it and it was really predictable. So I wouldn't recommend these two books to you. I'm sorry, like I know loads of people have hyped them up and really enjoy them. And if you did enjoy them, then that is your right. But for me, just didn't work. Question 4 is, what tropes do you love and hate in thriller books? So tropes that I love. I absolutely love kind of like locked room mysteries. They're the kind of mysteries that really get under your skin and make you feel a bit claustrophobic and a little bit paranoid. I also really love stalkers. The feeling that you are being watched, just I'm there for it, because it really messes with my head. That is what I want from a thriller. That is what I want from a good psychological thriller, is the feeling that there's someone watching me, that I have to have the curtains closed because there's someone outside and they're going to get in any minute. I also love the tropes of, you know, like your partner is the serial killer, you know, or like serial killing couples and things like that. My Lovely Wife springs to mind, where they do that really well, where you have a married couple who kind of go off and kill people for fun. Really, really love that, and it's not done enough, so I hope we get to see more of that in the future. I also really love it when they start bringing in cults in thrillers, you know, like Satanists and stuff like that, and just adding an element of horror and ghost story vibes to it. I really, really enjoy that as well. As for tropes that I hate in thrillers, there are a lot, but one of them that I really hate at the moment, and it might come as a surprise to a lot of you, is the unreliable narrator trope. Now, don't get me wrong, if it's done really well, then I do really enjoy it, but a lot of the books that I have read at the moment that have an unreliable narrator have just not lived up to the expectations for me, like The Silent Patient, as I mentioned. And also there was that book by B.A. Paris, I think it's called Bring Me Back. Absolutely hated that one. Just wasn't done very well. So I'm not a huge fan of the unreliable narrator trope at the moment, but that might change if I can find a really good one. If you have any recommendations, then please let me know. I need them badly. Also, the kind of like evil twin trope thing, I've seen that in thrillers a few times, and I just don't understand why anyone would think that that's a good idea. It's just so outdated, and it's just really, really predictable, and it could have been a lot better, you know what I mean, and then it ends up being someone's evil twin. Like, just know that has to be done really, really well for it to pay off. Question 5 is recommend an underrated thriller, and I am going to recommend The Arrangement by Robin Harding. So this is the only Robin Harding novel that I like at the moment. I still need to read The Swap, but I read a few of her other books and I've just absolutely hated them. But I was very surprised when I ended up liking this one so much that I gave it 4 stars. This is all about a girl living in New York. She's an art student and she ends up getting herself a sugar daddy to help her, you know, pay for the bills and the essentials, her studies, things like that. Now this sugar daddy, he's called Gabriel, and he is just the sexiest character in a thriller I have ever come across. Maybe it's just me, but I just really, really enjoyed reading about him, and I just loved everything about him. He exuded this just amazing kind of charisma. He was just so good on the page, okay? Like, I really enjoyed it. But then something happens in this book which is pretty bad, and this girl ends up being accused of that thing that is pretty bad. And I do wish that that thing that was pretty bad was elaborated on a little bit more and lasted a little bit longer for the book. But overall, really, really enjoyed this one. And I also like it because I haven't really seen a lot of thrillers discuss like the sugar daddy culture and things like that. So it was a very different book to read, and I loved every second of it. Great pacing, great storytelling, good writing actually. I was really surprised but I haven't really seen a lot of people talk about this one, and I think they should because it definitely deserves the attention. Alright, so question 6 is a little bit more interactive because I have to pick 3 thrillers from my shelves. 2 you've read and 1 you haven't, and your viewers have to comment on which book they think you haven't read. Alright, so give me one moment. Now, if you've seen my bookshelf reorganisation video, then you might know which books I have read and which books I haven't read because of the way I have my shelf laid out. So this might be a bit tricky, but I'm going to try my best to confuse some of you. Alright, so the 3 thrillers are, we've got One Way by S.J. Morden, we've got The Fear by C.L. Taylor, and we've got The Marriage Pact by Michelle Richmond. So which 3 of these books do you think I have not read? Let me know in the comments down below. The winner will receive a lifetime subscription service to my channel. How's that sound? Question 7 is, people are often intimidated by the thriller genre. Recommend a thriller for beginners. So I'm going to recommend The Crossing Places by Ellie Griffiths because this was a very easy book to read and it's quite thriller light. It's more of a mystery than it is a thriller, but it definitely has elements of thriller in it. And I was actually very surprised by this book. I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did. But this follows an archaeologist called Ruth who gets asked to examine some bones that have been discovered on a Norfolk moor. And they believe that these bones might be the bones of a missing child, but obviously the destination of these bones is kind of like an archaeological site as well, so they're trying to determine, you know, whether they're fresh bones or like really old bones. You get the gist. And yeah, like the twist at the end of this book was very surprising. I wasn't expecting it. It's very well written. It's got a really good atmosphere. The way Ellie Griffiths has described Norfolk is just absolutely bang on. Like, I know Norfolk really well and it felt like I was back there when I was reading this. And yeah, there are just a lot of things going on in this book that kind of lie underneath the surface at first and you don't really notice until the very end. And it was a lot of fun. It's very easy to read and just, you don't have to think too much about it. It's also the first book in the Ruth Galloway series, so this is definitely a good stepping on point for anyone who wants to get into the thriller genre. So the last question is, what is your all-time favourite thriller? And you probably already know this, but that is Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. Absolutely adore this thriller with all of my heart, and I know that it has very mixed reviews. You either love it or you hate it, but I definitely love this because not just because it's a great story, but also because it has a lot of very sentimental meaning for me. And I read this book during a very difficult time when things weren't going so great, I should say. I mean, they worked out fine in the end, but at the time I just couldn't see a way out of the stuff that I was in. But reading this book definitely allowed me to escape real life for a little bit and just be immersed in something that was just so tense and addictive. This book is very addictive, I will give you that. I couldn't put it down, and I haven't found a thriller yet that is as good as this one. I know I talked earlier about how I don't really like the unreliable narrator trope very much, but in this one it's done really well. So I think I said earlier I didn't really know of any books that did it well. I was wrong. This one definitely does it pretty well, so I would really recommend it for that alone. But yeah, there was just a lot going on in this, and I could talk about this book all day, but I'm not going to because we will be here all day. Okay guys, so that's the end of the questions, and that was the Thrilling Thrillers book tag. I hoped you enjoyed watching along with me. I had a lot of fun and it was really nice to just delve back into the thriller genre a little bit and remind myself of why I like reading thrillers so much. Like I said, I will leave the questions down below for you if you want to have a go yourself. Please feel free to leave any comments down below, any answers to these questions. I will be sure to check them out. I love all of the discussions that we guys have on YouTube. It is great to talk to you, so please don't hesitate to leave a comment. If you like this video, then please leave a cheeky thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. Please subscribe to my channel if you want to see more from me in the future, and I will see you all in another video very soon. Bye guys.